I would say shadows, but doubling 0 just turns out it's still 0. You suck, shadows!
Welcome to the Kindred Spirit Podcast, a show all about the board game Spirit Island. Here we'll talk about analytics and strategies within the game, as well as a plethora of other topics that can be found within it. Today we embark on an exciting new series, The Aspects! These next few episodes will be our community-driven series all about the aspect cards for the low-complexity spirits. We'll look at the numbers and the data, as well as the feedback and comments that all of you gave. Woo! I'm super excited for this one. Seriously, this is our biggest, most ambitious episode yet, and I can't wait to get it started. Alrighty, well, one of the coolest things that came in Jagged Earth was the new aspect cards. Not only did we get a slew of new majors, new minors, new boards, new characters that we've never seen before, but we also got these cool new aspect cards, which changed pre-existing characters to change them up a little bit. What were your guys' initial thoughts when you heard about these new aspect cards coming in?
Love the idea, especially for shadows, which we'll get to. But I think shadows was like the most neglected of the loads.
Yeah, when you look at how the character design for future people would develop, you look at that one and it's like, It feels as if like they didn't find their rhythm as much, maybe. It just felt different, you know, like here's the progression of these spirits and went from good to better to best to even cooler, and then there's a shadow on the side who's like this hunchback who's like, I'm in here.
Literally the kid sitting in the corner eating paste.
That's shadows.
Okay, that's maybe a little bit too harsh. But anyway, the aspect cards was such a cool idea, and one of the reasons why I thought it was so great was because Greater Than Games, the same publisher behind Spirit Island, also has a game called Sentinels of the Multiverse, which is a superhero game. And
I'm meaning to get into that.
It's really fun. We'll get to it sometime.
Yes.
So in that game, though, you play as a unique hero with your own deck of cards, and everyone plays different. They had this cool expansion, though, where they added these cool new cards that change your character's starting ability. And it didn't change the entire deck, just your health bar and your starting ability. So it didn't completely revamp the character's identity or even style, just a little bit different, like an alternate take on the character.
So is this an Eric Royce thing or a Greater Than Games thing?
I don't know. Maybe we can ask them that question in the future. Anyway, but when I look at these aspect cards, this feels like the exact same thing to me.
Okay.
And I feel as if going forward, they're totally going to do more of these. Because these add so many new replayability options and so much life into something that was like already...
Vengeance.
You can go... Vengeance. But like ways to change a character, improve a character, maybe someone who didn't really need to be improved, but maybe a cool idea that they had during the developmental process that wasn't able to get into the finished product. Maybe they can entertain these notions of different kinds of abilities that a character maybe once had. Maybe they tried to do this, but it just didn't make it off the cutting room floor. Anyway, I feel it in my bones that they're going to have more of these in the future.
Yeah.
And I think that it's super, super dope. So for Jagged Earth, that's when they introduced these new aspect cards. And so what they did is they have gone and taken a look at the low complexity peeps. That would be Lightning Swift Strike, River Surges in Sunlight, Shadows Flicker Like Flame, and Vital Strength of the Earth.
Ding, ding, ding! Nice job! All the ones. Well,
didn't even read that.
After so many times they're just saying like shadows or lightning, it's like, wait, what's the full name of River?
It's kind of funny, yeah.
Something about a flame.
It's kind of funny because I know exactly what you mean. So often we kind of refer to these characters with one or two names.
I forget Fangs' full name sometimes. I'm like,
right.
Is there leaves
involved?
You mean it's not Shadows of the Burning Dumpster?
Stop! Or Shadow Stop!
But no, we refer to these characters with hyphenated monikers, not their full name. And so sometimes it's kind of hard to remember. What was it? Like, Keeper took me forever. Is it Keeper of the Forbidden Wilds or Keeper of the Ancient Wilds? I always had that one.
I keep calling Keeper green just because I'm like, oh yeah, he's green. He's nature.
Well, I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Anyway, so for the
Do they all look the same to you?
Moving on. Anyway, so for the low complexity people, we have these cool aspect cards, some of which make them a little bit easier to understand. Some of them make them even more complex. So instead of being a low complexity spirit, they are now made into a moderate complexity spirit. So we're going to talk all about these new aspect cards. We're going to get into them and how they work and how they change the character. Not only that, we're going to give a brief little snippet
snippet of our own opinions, but we're going to go and get yours. What we've done is we have gone and put out multiple surveys on multiple websites, and we've gotten feedback from a lot of you. So we got a lot of numbers and a lot of stuff to root through. So let's get to it. First off, Lightning Swift Strike. It had 3 aspect cards that came in. Not all of them got the exact same number, by the way. Earth got 2, River got 2, Lightning got 3, and Shadows got 4.
17.
Anyway, so Lightning got 3. Lightning got Wind, Pandemonium, and Immense. So Wind, what Wind does is if you want to use it, you have to replace Swiftness of Lightning, which is your starting special rule that allows you, as Lightning, to go and for every air element you have, you may use 1 slow power as if it were fast. So to get rid of this special rule is actually quite interesting because that special rule is very pivotal to Lightning's identity. That's like the thing that Lightning does.
Fast!
Right. So what does Wind do? All right. Wind is this new aspect card, and it gives Lightning another innate power, giving him 2. It's called Exaltation of the Stormwind, which is just a cool, fun name. So it's fast, and it's not a land targeting power, but it's a spirit targeting power, and you target another spirit. It has 4 levels. At level 1, it costs just a single air element. You and target spirit may each make one of your non-major slow powers fast. So right off the bat, this kind of helps you get some of your stuff fast. So no longer can you make every single one of your starting hand cards fast. You can do one of them fast. So you can change the speed still. It's just you can't change the speed on all of them, just on one. Luckily though, I feel as if that really helps players who are very accustomed to Lightning's gameplay style from the base Lightning, because you still want to have that identity, that function of changing the speed. Now it says one of the non-major slow powers into a fast one. So that means that it can work on minors or your unique cards, but it can't be a major.
Or innates, right?
Correct. I don't
That's
think
what
this
it can
is
be.
like a crazy limiting factor. I think that's well balanced. I think that's
Yeah.
fine.
Mm-hmm.
At level 2, it requires 3 air, and it says you and target spirit each gain +1 range with all of your powers this turn.
That's big for some of them.
In my opinion, that might be probably the biggest get with this new innate power. That is huge. It sounds so simple, but even when we were talking about Volcano, getting +1 range on something hugely impacts the cards and powers that you have. Because not only can you do cards that already had a range 1 further, but this completely changes range 0 cards. Because the entire identity of a range 0 card is that usually they're pretty risky sometimes because it has to be a land that you are in. But with +1 range, the risk is usually thrown out the window and you can just safely do whatever that is. So Quicken the Earth Struggles is a card where it's like, defend 10, cool, awesome, range 0. Oh. I have to be there. Crap. Luckily, though, if you have this, though, you can go ahead and do it one away.
Is it weird to know the card you're speaking of when you say defend 10-0?
Yep.
Nice.
We played this game a lot. So, anyway, at level 3, it costs 4 air and 1 water. You and target spirit may each push up to 2 explorers from one of your respective lands. I really like this for the purposes of making Raging Storm a bit better. Because Raging Storm is one of Lightning's cards that is really hard to use because of how expensive it is as far as the damage it deals. 3 energy to do 1 damage to each invader. Yes, it's really good at explorers, and I think it is Lightning's only way to get rid of explorers from their starting...
Raging Storm?
Yeah, from their starting hand. So, being able to push up to 2 explorers from one of your respective lands gives Lightning just a little bit of bad guy control, which would allow them to gather just a few more people into a spot, making Raging Storm a bit better. Furthermore, Raging Storm gives you a water element, and this innate power uses water elements, making Raging Storm just a little bit more valuable. One thing that is super dope, though, about this innate is that not only do all of these benefits happen to you, but it happens to somebody else. Each one of these, it says you and target spirit do this thing. You and target spirit do that thing. You and target spirit may push people and get range and make one of your slow powers fast, which is really awesome because this innate power, I really feel, makes Lightning a lot more utility and team buffy, in addition to being a little bit more controlling. And I think that's really cool because one of the reasons why Lightning is so much fun to have as a teammate, even when you're not playing as them, is because Lightning's Boon is so awesome. Because Lightning's Boon allows you to make another character's slow powers go fast. 2 of them to be specific. But what's cool though is that you can play that card, Lightning's Boon, and you can play this one Exaltation of the Stormwind on 2 different friends.
Mm.
So one friend can go ahead and make 2 slow powers fast, and another friend can make one of their slow powers fast,
That's a fast
get
team.
+1 range,
Yeah.
and can push up to 2 of their stuff. Or if you want, you can super buff one guy and do both. So what's really cool though is that even though you lose the ability to go ahead and do your special rule, which says that you can make slow powers fast based on how many air elements you have, you are making yourself slower to make everyone else faster. And that was a quote that you said, Laura, a long time ago when you were first looking at this character's new aspect card, and I 100% agree. You're taking a big hit here. You can't make your entire hand fast anymore, only one. And when I played with this aspect, and by the way, this is the only aspect of lightning that I've gotten to so far, and I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with it. By the way, the last and final level with this innate costs 5 air and 2 water, and it just simply says repeat this power. So if you can get there, you can either super load one of your friends again, or you can even distribute this to a third friend, which means you are doling out speed upgrades, range upgrades, and pushing explore upgrades to so many of your friends. Or if it's a 2-player game, your buddy is going to be like, I love you. So one more thing that I thought was really interesting and really cool with Exaltation of Stormwind, this will just be my last thing before we go on to the other ones, is if you compare Exaltation of the Stormwind and Thundering Destruction together, you'll notice that if you have level 1 of one of them, you'll have level 1 of the other. If you have level 2 of one, you'll have level 2 of the other. Level 3 of the other, and 4 of the other, you'll have the other one as well.
Hand in hand.
The thing that is so dope is Exaltation of Stormwind doesn't use any fire, but it uses the exact same requirements as Thundering Destruction does for levels 2, 3, and 4. So both of them require 3 air for their level 2, both of them require 4 air and a water for level 3, and both of them require 5 air and 2 water for level 4. Luckily, Exaltation of Stormwind for level 1 requires 1 air, Thundering Destruction requires 2 air and 3 fire. So if you get Thundering Destruction level 1, you will automatically have Exaltation of Stormwind level 1. And if you look at Thundering Destruction, regardless of what level you have, your other innate will automatically match that exact same level. I think that is really cool. I feel as if that was intentional because it's not that the elemental thresholds are similar, they are identical.
Mm-hmm.
Ignoring the fire elements and the level 1, of course. But levels 2, 3, and 4 are literally identical. I think that's really helpful. And I think that's really cool because, like I said, that really helps when you're trying to think about how many elements do I have? Do I have enough for this one? Do I have enough for that one? Well, luckily, if you understand that, look at Thundering Destruction first. If you have any levels of Thundering Destruction, you will automatically have the corresponding level to Exaltation of Stormwind as well. So, anyway, that is wind.
Pandemonium does almost the same thing. Pandemonium replaces that innate power. It just changes up the elements needed slightly.
There goes boom, boom, lightning.
Right, well, that's what these aspect cards do. They don't add things, they replace something that's already there. One thing that's really dope with these aspect cards is that it's not a 100% upgrade. It's a side grade. It makes your character an alternate version of your character because it's not just adding something new. You have to give up something.
Mm.
So usually you have to give up your starting passive, one of your innates or something. But what you get is something new or something different. So for instance, like I said with wind, you lose your special rule, but you gain another innate. So now you have 2 innates, but no special rules. This one, you keep your special and you only have 1 innate, but it just changes what your innate is. So that's kind of cool how these work.
What does the Pandemonium do?
So Pandemonium, like Ryan said, you still get your swiftness of lightning, so you're still fast, but now instead of destroying cities, you're going to be getting fear and adding strife to the cities.
Mm.
It's a slow power, 1 away from your sacred site, targeting invader lands, but the first level of it with 3 fire and 2 air, you get 2 fear and add a strife. Second level at 4 fire and 3 air, you get, and correct me if I'm wrong, you get 2 more fear.
It's cumulative.
So 4 fear and add a strife, and that's pretty big, like 4 fear in one go for not a ton of elements.
Right.
Then at level 3 with 5 fire, 4 air, and 1 moon instead of 1 water, which is different from his Thundering Destruction.
Interesting. It becomes more of like a spooky, moony spirit.
Yeah.
It's
Instead
really-
of bringing the floods in.
Yeah.
Right.
Then you get a cumulative 7 fear.
Oof.
You add another strife, so that's now 3 strife.
3 strife.
And then at your final level, 5 fire, 5 air, 2 moon. You get, let me do the math real quick here, 11 fear.
It is 11.
And you get 4 strife, which
That
is
insane.
a lot.
So what's so
That's
weird
math.
though?
Many much.
Finally.
From the art teacher.
Many much.
So here's the thing that's so weird though. Thundering Destruction is lightning's best attacking power. It is so good. It's the bread and butter ability that lightning has to really consistently blow stuff up. Because when you are an attacker, you want to have a consistent attacking thing. And when you have cards that will go into the discard pile when you're playing as a character that doesn't have Reclaim 1 or Reclaim 2, you're going to have to really make all of your attack cards count because you can only do them once per reclaim cycle. So Thundering Destruction was always that one where it's like, well, as long as I trigger that innate, I can do that attack every single time. This is robbing lightning of that offense.
It's pivoting and
Which
turning
is-
it to a defensive.
because
And
what it does
a
is it
fear
turns
spirit.
because
Fear
it turns him
defensive.
Fear
into a
defensive.
fear spirit. Wind makes lightning a support
Mhm.
spirit. Pandemonium transforms lightning into a fear spirit, and Immense makes him a major power user, which is really interesting because with high card play, it usually plays as a minor power
Great,
character.
let me get into Immense.
But what's really dope, though, I think, is just the complete change to that character's function and identity. No longer does it use water.
Raging Storm isn't really all that useful anymore since this new innate uses moon now.
But when you are stacking so much strife, you can still only do that in one land. So you're going to have a lot of people in your lands, perhaps because you're not killing them, but you're also strifing all of them so they're not really doing damage. I can see some sneaky Dahan using strategies here, especially with Harbingers of Lightning, because when people are strifed, that means that they are going to be more defended against because they're not dealing any damage. This means that this character with this aspect could be good against adversaries with bonus damage, like Sweden, or Russia with their explorers that do additional damage, because you're not stopping a X amount of damage, you're completely negating that damage input from that specific invader to 0. And we've talked about that before when we talked about Trickster a few episodes ago. But so interesting when you take someone that's like balls to the wall offense and you completely take away their number 1 attacking ability and give them a fear generating defense kind of ability. It's like, what? What a change.
Makes you think.
It's really cool. I haven't done that one yet, but I think that's going to be the one I do next.
Okay. I'm going to Immense.
Right on.
Immense, the last one. It says, an immense spirit, towering and slow, which again is weird for...
Slow
I
it
know.
down again.
Slow?
Oh,
This
what?
is the fastest dude. What are you doing?
So, gather on the fire, kids. We got a lot of reading. Your top presence track grants you twice as much energy. Whoa!
Whoa, that's
During-
up to 10 energy.
Yikes! Yeah, it can go up to 10 during the spirit phase.
I can math.
Any ongoing modifiers are counted after doubling. But still, you start with 2 energy instead of just 1.
Can you explain for the slow kids like me, what is a ongoing modifier? What would be an example of that?
If you do like the growth of gain 3,
Okay.
that would not be gain 6.
Oh, darn.
It's just from your presence track.
Okay, thank you.
Also, if there is a blight card like Back Against the Wall, which increases your energy gain, or that new major that reduces your energy income by 1, but it gives Dahan defend 1 wherever they're at.
Okay.
Correct.
Furthermore, when fully upgraded, if you chose growth option 3 when your energy track was fully loaded up, you are getting 13 energy
Which
a
is
turn.
near serpent level.
Wow.
Serpent can get to 17. Shifting Memory can get up to 15. And this character with that, what I just described, gets up to 13.
Oof.
It's like, what? Really cool.
Okay, so that is what happens with your energy track. Then, playing power cards during the spirit phase costs 2 card plates instead of 1.
That is weird.
That's weird. If you have
Why?
any unused card plays at the end of the spirit phase, you gain an element of your choice.
Which is awesome and really weird.
Ooh.
Lastly, for each major power you play, gain 2 different elements of your choice.
Which is going to
Whoa.
be really nice. And here's one thing that's
For
crazy,
those
though.
elemental thresholds you need to acquire.
Here's one thing that's rare, though. Immense doesn't replace anything.
Nope. Put it on top of your track, kind of. You know? Or it just basically doubles everything.
But it
Wow.
radically changes his
Oh,
character
I
from a...
hate this one. And sneak peek,
Funny,
listeners.
the internet disagrees
Yeah,
with you.
the internet disagrees with me.
Spoilers!
Spoilers! But we will get into like personal comments later. But those are the 3.
I like that though, because a lot of the newer spirits, they have more than one special rule, and then these low
Right.
complexity spirits only have
They
one
just had
special
one.
rule.
You get
Right.
so
So when
bored if you're...
Yeah.
No, you really do. Like if you just
I
have one
do.
innate or one special rule or
I'm
something.
not the best at it, but I'd like more. So it is cool when they're like, let's just add more to this, not replace place.
Right.
But
And I think that's
and they
so
even have, like,
cool,
more than
though.
one special power. So
Right.
why-
With wind, yeah.
Well, it's such a perfect thing to add to the game, these aspects, because you still have a character available that's perfect for a new player.
Mhm.
A character that has one special rule. A character that has one innate. But guess what? The new person can go and play as this character because it's just one of each, so it's easy to understand. But a veteran can come back and play as one of these new variants that adds more stuff, so you can tweak the character to be beginner friendly. And okay, are you a veteran or a newbie? I'm a veteran. Cool. Now we can go ahead and put on all these upgrades, and it changes the character to a higher complexity version of themselves.
Look at the right corner. I forgot to mention
dope.
that. They up the complexity.
I think all three of
You are
these
correct.
up the complexity.
You are correct. All of Lightning's aspect cards increase complexity. Some spirits have aspect cards that don't do anything to the complexity, or have cards that just make them even easier, which is actually kind of funny.
Shadows is like, you didn't think it was awful enough? Let's make him worse.
No, just...
How can you get lower than
We will
low?
talk about Reach later. I have many thoughts on Shadows, and most of them are good.
So,
They are, actually.
one thing I wanted to clarify with Immense right before we get onto the data was, if you notice, it says if you have any unused card plays at the end of the spirit phase, gain one element of your choice. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that means if you have any number of unused ones, not you gain one element of your choice per unused one. I think it's just any number of them. If
That's
for
why-
some
that's how I read
reason
it.
Yeah.
you would somehow get a boost from someone where your card play goes up and like, here, quick, Fractured Days, give me one extra card play. Technically, I have two unused, that's two elements. Yeah! Or if you purposely didn't play any cards so that you would have a lot of unused card play. No, I don't think it works like that. So, just a further clarification, because it says if you have any unused, not per. But
Yes.
anyway, you'd probably want to use that extra unused one for actually playing a card anyway, because at that point, you're going to have a lot of energy anyway. So, there's a brief at-a-glance look at what those do as for their function. Now, let's get into the data. Let's get into the fun stuff. Alrighty, so we got the majority of our polls and our surveys from Board Game Geek and Reddit. So, let's go and see what Board Game Geek had to say about what they thought the best aspect for Lightning was. So, between Immense, Pandemonium, and Wind, this was actually quite interesting. One of them, obviously, was the most, and the other two actually tied.
Ooh.
So,
Oh, wow.
Immense was the one that everyone thought was the best.
Boo. Boo.
Immense
Y'all
won.
suck.
Immense got 50% of the votes. Pandemonium and Wind got 25% of the votes each. So between Pandemonium and Wind, Board Game Geek had them tied. The people on Board Game Geek thought equally about those ones, yet Immense had an easy lead with a 25% margin of winning over the other two. How interesting.
Yeah, I don't
What?
agree with it.
Yeah?
That's okay.
What
It is very interesting. 50% people like Immense.
That's a clear winner.
That's
Yeah.
a chunk of change.
So, what did Reddit think?
Reddit actually went even further than that, and 62%
Really?
of the Redditors said Immense.
So, Immense also won on Reddit.
Yeah. Pandemonium was behind at 16%, and Wind was 22%.
Huh.
But
Wind came
Pandemonium
in
was...
second.
So
Good job, Wind.
Wind came in second, but Pandemonium came in third
They-
on Reddit.
It was very close, similar to yours, where like Wind and Pandemonium were kind of neck and neck.
Mhm.
Obviously, literally yours are tied,
Yeah.
but Immense was just running away with it.
I'm kind of interested though, because we had 49 votes on Reddit, but 32 on Board Game Geek. So I'm wondering if Board Game Geek's answers would be a little bit different if they had the exact same amount of voters. So I find that kind of interesting. But either way, Immense is clearly the winner here.
Yeah.
I would
Which-
like to know how many people voted on both of them.
Oh. Yeah, I check both. I'm sure many others check BGG and Reddit.
Yeah, I just think that would be interesting,
That would
too.
be kind of cool. Anyway, so Immense, of all of the ones to get the most, Immense was the winner. I voted for Wind myself.
Me too.
Oh.
Yeah, we were outvoted. So the reason why I think Wind is so great is because that +1 range, and you still are able to shuttle past speed upgrades to friends, and now with this power you can also do multiple friends. I really like that. So one of the reasons why I'm thinking I don't like Immense as much, maybe I shouldn't say the word like, maybe I should say the word prefer. Why I would prefer Wind over Immense, even though I haven't done Immense, was because Immense doesn't do anything specific to Lightning's identity. It can be applied on anyone, and we're going to be getting into that in a little bit, but it doesn't like do anything specific for the character. If you look at it, like it's just, it doesn't replace anything. It doesn't feel tied to Lightning exclusively. Its effect just happens to be maximized on Lightning because what it does changes him the most.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So anyway, let's get into what all of you had to say about
Yay.
lightning and these new aspect cards. So Craig says, the most fun I had since Jagged Earth arrived was with the Pandemonium aspect. I just took to it. I loved my first game and took it on a run of 4 to 5 games, and those were all the games that I enjoyed the most. Then Furious Jazz Hands agrees, saying, I like that it changes...
Wait, that name's amazing. Good name. I like that name.
Anyway, they say, I like that it changes the spirit from being focused on destruction to being focused on fear and Dahan control. It feels a little bit like a mini Thunder Speaker, which is fitting considering that they're related. So lightning and thunder, it actually does have that cool correlation.
Right? I think she's the daughter of lightning.
And like I said, I feel as if Pandemonium does kind of allow lightning to be a little bit of a Dahan user because of the fact that you're strifing bad guys, you're protecting people because now you have a reliable source of defense, which lightning never had to begin with. So I find that very interesting. So Red Revenge comes in and they comment on all of these. And according to Red Revenge, wind is on par with or better than normal. So wind is just as good as standard lightning and maybe could be, in someone's opinion, a little bit better. Whereas Pandemonium Immense, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Their explanation is wind and normal lightning seem very similar in their power level. Both are extremely effective. The first two clauses of wind are very strong, especially when you have spirits that are playing a high-powered, slow-power character, like Thunderspeaker, for example. I found that the +1 range to come in handy on several occasions, too. I have yet to try both Pandemonium or Immense. Pandemonium has a bigger payoff, but requires more setup, which is why I think it'll probably be weaker than wind than base lightning. Immense changes the playstyle of lightning completely. I don't know how much stronger or weaker it will make lightning. I do enjoy playing wind far more than base lightning, however. So I think I agree. Actually, it's been a while since I've played base lightning, to be fair, so maybe I should go and play base lightning again after I recently have done my wind game with lightning. I will say, though, it was a drastic change of pace, because I was really used to making all my slow powers fast, or at least having the option to. Being able to only do that for one was really weird for me. But I think there's a cool balance that you can find, but I also invited the challenge on, I've never had to do this with lightning before. Now I have these cards that are slow, and I have to make them slow. I have to keep them slow because only one of them can I make fast. So it actually was kind of interesting to be like, well, now I have this whole dynamic of which one do I do? Before it was, like literally
make all of them.
any one of them you can do. But now it was weird because it was like, I don't know which one to do. Or is this the correct one to do? There's like another layer there.
That's why that arrow is going up for complexity.
Yeah, but I kind of enjoyed that though. It was kind of fun.
Yeah.
So James says, personally, I'm not a huge fan of Immensity. I'm surprised to see that it got so much love. It loses the feel of lightning for me, with how difficult it makes their innate. I understand it exists as a counterbalance to might and foreboding, and how those cards push earth and shadows respectively towards card plays. It just feels a bit too similar to memory, but without the minigame for me. I think I agree with that. It does feel a lot more like memory.
James knows what's up.
Yeah.
I think I'm with you, James.
Yeah.
I think I agree with this one. Benjamin says, I've played with it once, talking about Immensity, and while in some respects it's definitely kind of similar to Shifting Memory, the fun bonus twist I found it gets is getting to pile Swiftness of Lightning onto it. So the gimmick becomes going for powerful slow majors and making them fast. Weirdly enough, I coincidentally drew 2 straight sets of 4 fast majors the one time I played with this aspect.
Whoa.
So I didn't really get used to that hypothetical gimmick, but it seemed like an interesting and potentially powerful twist. Craig responds saying, yeah, I also have only played Immense once, maybe twice, and while I don't dislike it, it felt the same, that it seemed to pretty much be like Shifting Memory. Now that's not a bad thing as it can make powers fast still, but compared to Pandemonium for me, it just didn't seem as unique and interesting. And I think I agree, that's kind of the complaint I had right off the bat, was just I feel as if like the identity of lightning wasn't really there. Like when you look at innate powers, when you look at power cards, you obviously know the context of who this card, who this innate power belongs to, and how this feeds into that one special, and how this feeds into that other card, and how this feeds into that other card. Immense doesn't really feel as integrated with these different strategies that the characters are doing, like Wind and Pandemonium, like we were saying, oh, they're tied to the other innate. This one has the exact same thresholds, just minus fire, so it feels as if it's like thought went into it. And I'm not saying that Immense didn't have thought go into it. I'm just saying that it feels more like a sticker that's slapped on the side of the car as opposed to a tune-up, a bona fide change to the transmission of the car.
Like you said, you could put this on any character and have them be different. And
right.
Interestingly so, it's an interesting card in and of itself, but it doesn't really feel lightning-ish.
Right. And one thing that's really cool about that is actually exactly what it was originally intended for. Andre is here to comment and let us know that in early playtests, they say, Immense was an aspect for any spirit. There's nothing stopping you from trying it with spirits other than lightning, although given that lightning has the most card plays of any spirit and a poor energy track, it tends to change their character the most.
Makes sense.
I did not know that. And by the way, we referenced this exact comment a few episodes ago. This is where we found that comment. So Thank you, Andre. I did not know that. I think it's actually kind of cool. And maybe for our silly games, some of our silly lists, we may be able to apply that. But who would be the best one to do that with? Maybe Mist with high card play reclaiming 1 and terrible energy gain?
I would say Shadows, but doubling 0 just turns out is still 0. You suck, Shadows!
I mean, you do get then to 12. So once you get past the sucky bit of
But I think it's a cool thing to think about, though. Who else could Immense go to? I think that's a fun thing. Yes, I know this is Lightning's aspect card. It literally has his picture on the back.
But it's not on the front.
But I think it could be a cool thing just to think about, and maybe it's not the first thing that you... Right, yeah, to play around with. It could be a cool thing to play around with.
Sounds like a good question for the comments.
Ooh.
Yeah. Lastly, MWT comes in saying, the main thing I like about Immense was how effectively it breaks Lightning's mid-game reclaim trap. Getting presence on the map was no problem, and by the end of the game, Lightning's board was cleared. I basically played Growth Option 2 most of the time, alternating with Growth Option 1. Option 3 was completely irrelevant, as there was never a time I needed the extra energy. And why only put 1 presence on the map when you can put 2? I think I totally see it, because if you're getting a lot of bonus energy from your tracks, you're not going to be needing a spiking option anymore. However, there is a big value sometimes with getting 1 presence that's not at range 0, because your second one, yes, the first one gives you 2 range and the other one's 0, but every now and then with that 0 one, sometimes, have you ever had a character where it's like, oh, it's range 0, oh, I hadn't planned that yet.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be too bad of a problem, though. I think it's going to be like a beginner awkward situation only. I think a veteran's going to be like, okay, I may not be making Sacred Sites all the time. I'll be going and put 1 here, and then with my 0 range presence placing option, I'll just do another one that I left from a turn prior. So I don't think that's so bad. You know, when you are playing a character with a lot of card plays, it's actually not uncommon to be doing a reclaim often. If you don't have a massive hand of cards that you've probably built with a bunch of minors that you found. Why? Because if you have a ton of card plays, you're going to be putting those card plays to use. So I'm going to play 5 cards this turn. Yikes. Wow. Okay. How big is your hand? 6 cards. Oh, someone's reclaiming soon.
It's the old reclaim loop.
Yep. So the whole reclaim loop.
It's just a fun quirk of Lightning. He's
well,
got to embrace it.
It's not exactly specifically just a Lightning problem, because that's just a symptom of any high card play character. You know, if you have a ton of card play and you maximize your card plays, you actually fill it up. Like, hey, I can play 6 cards, and I actually play 6 cards. How big was your hand? 8? You have 2 left. You're probably reclaiming.
Right.
Like, so sometimes
I think it hits Lightning more because the only way to add a new card is to reclaim. Where River, in a growth option, you know, the third growth option, you can add a card, or some other people's, you can add cards other ways.
I do think
so you keep slowly building your hand.
Yes, Lightning, there's only one way.
I do think that Lightning has the least beneficial reclaim cycle. Earth, obviously, is fantastic because they can still add a presence. Finder, I think, has a very decent reclaim cycle.
Yeah, you can really stretch out with Finder.
I think that Lightning is just famous for that because the high card play accentuates the, I'm not going to say subpar, but just, you got to be careful with that reclaim cycle because that reclaim loop does exist. Yes, albeit accentuated persuaded by the card play. I do think that it's not the best, most beneficial.
It's tempting, but sometimes you can't always play 5 cards just because you have it.
Right, just because you have it. And that's what I think a big difference between amateur play, mediocre play, and high-level, more professional play.
It doesn't mean you have to.
Just because you can doesn't mean you have to. Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yep.
So anyway, those were the Board Game Geek comments. What does Reddit have to say about
those? Were great comments. Thank you for everyone on BGG.
Yes, and I think it's actually kind of cool to see some of the differences. Some people like immense, some people don't like immense. Pandemonium seems to be liked pretty much, and Wind I didn't see a whole lot of comments on, but I do agree with the few comments that there were saying that Wind is incredibly useful.
Okay.
A lot of people said that Wind was their favorite, and Wind is extremely effective. I agree. And I think I can agree with what Red Revenge said, which is Wind and the normal version of Lightning are probably the most similar, but that doesn't mean that either are better. I really do think that I would prefer Wind a little bit more, because to me, as a human player, I get more enjoyment when I help my friends. And I feel as if when you can shuttle pass stuff, well, you guys were there when we did that game when I was Wind.
Oh, yeah.
And being able to make Green, who was on that team, a little bit faster, get +1 range, and shuttle passing range is huge, especially when we had Volcano on the team, because we also had Volcano on that game. And when I shuttle passed them extra range, when Volcano already had range buffing stuff, made Volcano go crazy far. I really like that you can do 2 powers fast, or 1 power fast and a range. Or you can be like, hey buddy, and 3 powers fast and a range. Everything on that one guy. So good stuff. I like this feedback. I like having this discussion.
This really
and I'm actually glad though that we have differences. Like I said, I voted for Wind, but Immense surprised me.
We'll get into it.
Yeah.
It does make you reconsider what you originally thought. This person here, the Shiztastic, again, great name, on the Reddit board.
Reddit has less of actual names.
No worries.
No James here.
It makes it all up. Immense has been amazing in every game so far. Paired with Memory of Ages, I gained strictly major powers between the two. Makes for some wild games. And that makes me kind of feel like, I hadn't really considered playing Immense, but I might try that pair with that intention, because I don't play a lot of majors normally. But that sounds really kind of fun to try.
And I've never thought of Lightning as a major power user.
No.
When I hear major power user, I think Memory, I think Earth, I think Stone, I think Keeper. That's what I think of. But now I had to be like Lightning with Immense. You know?
Yeah.
Immense Lightning. And for instance...
I'm squirming in my seat. I hate it!
Fine, you go ahead and talk about it. I agree.
No.
I thought the Shiztastic was kind of cool there.
What did Mind Wanderer B say, Laura?
Mind Wanderer B said,
I love these names.
Wind Lightning is one of our players' go-to spirits.
Yes.
It makes Lightning go from a fairly lazy, fast destruction spirit to an amazing support spirit.
I agree.
I
agree.
The range boost on itself gives it some great additional options, but we love having that shared fast and usually the +1 range every round. Our Ocean player in particular functions this way. Way better with Wind Lightning on the team, since it lets Ocean leave the presence in the ocean but still hit the coastal lands at range 0. And I actually hadn't considered that, because I did think, that's going to be great for Ocean, and then I thought, a lot of Ocean's powers are you have to hit the coastal land anyway regardless of range.
Right.
But leaving the presence in the water, and then
you're still able to hit it.
So you can drown from the ocean.
All of us Ocean people know that feeling of being like, I could hit a city.
I could drown a city.
But
I'm not there.
Stuck out here in the low tide.
You're floating around, yeah.
That is huge.
Nice.
Well, think about it. A lot of people's problems with Ocean, there are many awkward turns when you're doing that tide coming in and out cycle. And sometimes you really get boned over the fact that, seriously, I can't, I'm not there. Like you said,
cannot play anything.
You just get screwed, and you're like, okay, I really need to get this guy. You're planning out your energy economy, you're planning out your card play stuff, and you can't do that. No, dang it.
Just floating out there, awkward. Watching your lands go up in blights.
And the thing about Wind is that it's so easy to trigger. Level 1 requires 1 air.
Single air.
So you can get at least 1 speed upgrade out to a friend really easy. And then 3 air is not a lot to get that range 1. But yeah, wow, I didn't even think about that. That is really a good combo.
Thank you, Mind Wanderer B.
Wind, Lightning, and Ocean. That's a good one.
I want to talk about how much I like Wind.
Go for it.
I think those for the end of our comments. Then some of the bots, people can like bracket the actual power, and then bots kind of fill in, which is actually helpful if you're reading like, oh, this is literally what
Sure, it's really helpful for information.
But those like kind of fill up our comments. But yeah, those were I think the highlights of the Reddit one.
I have a question for Zamiel Van Weber.
Okay.
I do have a question about Immense was nerfed so hard, I just don't enjoy it like I did, but Immensity was a thoroughly dumb aspect.
Ooh, probably playtester.
Who knows more about Immense being nerfed?
If you're listening,
Zamiel Van Weber.
Honestly, please comment and let us know what the
comment
original...
on our Facebook page at the Kindred Spirit Podcast. We'd love to hear from you.
We would.
I'm not kidding!
Yeah, do it!
Because everyone seems to be like, Immense is so big, and then this guy over here is like, it got nerfed. What are we missing out on?
We're talking about wind and lightning. I know you're saying Immense, but I'm gonna just sweep past that real quick. Wind aspect for lightning, and we're talking about reclaim loop. Yeah. I think wind lightning breaks the reclaim loop because, like you're saying, the one air. Now just having one of something is good and makes someone else fast. Because one of the another reasons why there's always a reclaim loop, you're right, you can't build your hands. And also because people just get used to lightning's boon. It's like a drug.
They do. It is a drug, yes.
It's just like, have another hit. Like, we were playing with Laura's Thunder Speaker, and how many times did you want to make Manifestation of Power and Glory fast?
All the time.
All the time.
Seriously, Lightning's Boon and Gift of Proliferation. Those cards, if green...
Hey, do you have that?
Hey, do you have that? Hey, do you have that? Hey, do you have that?
I know I just asked for it last time, but did you reclaim
I just had it last round. It's like, yeah, I need to be fast this turn. Like,
it is so addicting. It's true, though. It's true. And being able to shuttle pass, even if it's not the exact same, something very similar to that.
Making one power fast, because usually Laura just wanted one power fast. And that's how it usually is. Like, oh, I can do a second one. Cool.
Right. You're usually calibrating one card for that effect.
So the fact that you can do it now with just one air, like you were saying, is so cheap. The range, I think, lets you get into the reclaim loop.
Yeah.
Here's what's up. Okay, so say you have like 3 sacred sites, and you're kind of stuck in this reclaim loop. You have 6 present on the board. If you have an additional range, that stretches you out to farther parts of the islands, so you can keep getting into the reclaim loop, but you can still hit lands that are maybe a little bit farther away.
Right, gives you just that added...
Yeah, you're not as much presence on the board, but you can reach farther, so what's the difference, really?
True.
I know you're not getting as much energy.
Right, because all those benefits that you give to friends also happen to you as well.
Right.
Which is really nice, so you can make use of these things just as much.
Because I've played Lightning, OG Lightning, base Lightning, whatever you want to call it. If I get Reaching Grasp with Lightning...
Yeah, it's huge. Because it
adds 2 range.
Well, if you have wind, you still have Thundering Destruction, which completely destroys buildings.
Yeah.
And when you have the capability to destroy buildings with so much ease with Thundering Destruction, you want to blow up every building.
But if you blow everything around you, then you're just
what else
sitting
can
there.
you do?
Yeah.
That's why this power is so great, because you can go just a little bit
like
further.
Like you were saying about Volcano.
Because then you can go ahead and do your second growth option, which adds a presence 2 away. Then from there, you can get a boosted range and get something. So you could really reach out a lot more easier than you could before and start using your amazing building destruction capabilities on a friend's board who maybe is really good against explorers, for instance.
Yeah.
So Mist and Sharp Fangs would like this because they're ace on explorers, but they're not so good at buildings. This guy's the exact opposite. Really good against buildings, but he sucks against explorers unless he uses Raging Storm, which, by the way, I feel as if Wind makes Raging Storm a little bit more enticing because not only can you do it a little bit farther away, but you can now gather people. I know it's just explorers. Explorers are usually what Raging Storm is used to kill. That is usually what you are playing that card on doing, is killing explorers. Because you can't do anything about healing invaders. That's Mist's thing. So doing 1 damage to each invader, that's always good against large groups of explorers.
Right.
Fun fact though, I always said to myself that I never want to use Raging Storm on explorers unless I kill 3 or more. Luckily, since you can push 2, if you target a land that just has 1, grab 2 win, there you go, there's your 3. Now I know that there are other things that you can maybe get from another damage card that you did. Oh, 1 damage to each invader. Now I have a town that's wounded. I had a defend card and Dahan in that land, they can finish it off. Cool. But even without any of those kind of late game hand building strategies, I really do feel as if Wind takes advantage of Raging Storm just a little bit better.
I think Wind makes Lightning better.
Yeah. Just as Pandemonium made Lightning a little bit more of a Dahan user and made Dahan using strategies a bit better for Lightning, I think Wind makes Raging Storm a bit better, and then obviously Immense makes Lightning a bit more of a major power user.
Wind makes Lightning one of the top 5 supports in the game.
Honestly, yeah.
We have Serpent, we have Fractured, we have Green.
We have Finder.
I think Lightning's coming. Wind Lightning is coming up.
And it only does 3 things, 2 of which are going to be easy to trigger. One of them will be kind of harder to trigger, but what they do
is so solid that's like, oh man, this is a great crutch. It's like that drug. It's like, oh man, yes, speed, literal speed.
And you can have speed literally every round now, even if it's one.
Right.
Range is huge. That area of effect that you can influence now
it's a big deal.
It's huge.
So why is immensity striking you as this big negative thing?
Okay.
Because your responses are not subtle, and I'm just curious. I want to know what they are, because I don't prefer immensity either. So
I'm like squirming in my chair, people.
Right. With wind, just to add to your comment that you said, I want to voice my agreement with the statement that I can't really tell with the limited experience I have if base lightning is better or worse than wind, but I can tell you right now that wind is my preferred style, because that was so awesome and so useful.
Yeah, I want to like push back, but I think you might be right. It might be like a preferred now for me to play would be wind.
Right. I just need to play both more often to see which one is better. Right. But like I said, easily it's more my preferred play style between base and wind.
But immense, for me, it just completely warps the spirit and almost just nullifies or makes it vanilla. It just turns it into nothing for me.
Yeah, I think I see what you mean, because, I don't know, there's the additional element of you are completely gutting Lightning's identity.
Yes.
Right? Which you're changing it to be a new spirit. That's fine. I understand that. But I'm so accustomed to playing Lightning. I approach Lightning because of that. It feels kind of weird for all that to just be nixed.
I love this game. I love the designers. We have spoken with some of the designers in comments and in threads and stuff. Like, this is my favorite game of all time.
Mm-hmm.
I think Immense was tacked on to Lightning.
Right.
That's all. And that has nothing against, like I said, any of the developers or designers.
Well, that's what I kind of felt too. I was saying this one feels like the least integrated. It just feels like it was slapped on the top. Like, this bad boy slap can fit so many aspect cards into it.
Well, and we saw that they thought of it. They're like, this would work for anybody. Yeah. And then they really just kind of came down to, who does this one work best for? Not necessarily, is this the best one for this spirit?
Looks like it's Lightning. Let's put it on Lightning.
Boom, it goes to Lightning. So I think if you take Immense and you just go, this is a card I can play with any of the spirits.
James agrees with you, by the way. He says, Immensity feels like what a low complexity, quote unquote, my first major spirit should be. Like, what's your first major power user you want to use?
Maybe don't.
It would be Immensity.
Shifting would be like, I have to track all these elements. That's kind of a lot.
Right. So, Immense Lightning would be your training wheels major power user.
That's a good point.
If for
James is killing it.
If for some reason shifting memories markers feel too much for you, I guess, I just have played enough of the other major spirits that I want some sort of minigame or something more, or at least an innate that I can be used to spice it up. Immense Lightning is aggressively vanilla.
I don't want to leave Pandemonium aside.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we're talking Immense is very controversial, and then we're all gushing about wind.
It's a big change, yeah.
I like Pandemonium because 11 fear from an innate is unheard of.
It is insane.
It is the only one from an innate.
That is almost a fear card in a 4-player game by yourself.
Yes. And like you said, Harbingers of Lightning, that card, usually I just played for the elements and for the 1 fear.
That might be...
It was a useless card, but it was 0 energy, so I'm like, cheap, lightning good.
You said that Raging Storm was always the one you got rid of first?
Always first, because, if
Harbingers of Lightning is what I always got rid of first.
I like the 0. I like the 0 cost.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
But pushing 2 to Han is nothing to laugh at. Trickster can only push 1 from its tracks.
Right.
And that is the other Strife user. Does Lightning Pandemonium become the best Strife user than Trickster?
Oh! I'm going to say no.
Okay.
I'm going to say it's a Strife user because it still has to go in one spot. So it's really great for Finder, who is collecting people into one spot. Then you Strife everyone in that spot. Cool. Much better. Looks a lot better. I think that this can go on more targets. I just think that Trickster can shuttle past them to more lands.
I would agree with Ryan on that one. Because usually you're like, oh no, we're going to strike.
It's not bad.
You're
supposed to back me up.
It's not bad. I'm just saying more effective Strife usage. This is just one thing. Look at all these cards that don't do anything with Strife. Trickster has both innates and cards that have Strife. The thing is, though, is like, should we consider Pandemonium Lightning as one of our major fear users? Because you got Bodan, you have Mist, you have Shadows Flicker Like Flame, you have Sharp Fangs, you have Many Minds. Then, besides that, who are your fear users? Well, you have
Ocean. Was always Ocean.
Right, and it's a good play with all those other ones because fear characters are usually controlling as well, and controllers love having Ocean on the team because goes into the drink with you. Bleep. But now, this character, although not necessarily so much with control perhaps, but just, like you said, 11 fear?
11 fear. Shattered Home says fear, then fear for the destruction of the town. So that's 2 more fear, so you can get 13 fear. And
in a solo game, that's 3. That's a terror level.
And then Harbingers of Lightning, another fear if we push Dahan into a land with a building.
Dude, a solo Pandemonium game.
Solo Pandemonium game.
That could be cool.
If you are fully upgraded, like we're saying, you can do 11 fear, plus 2 fear from Shattered Home says, plus another fear. So what are we at? 14 fear?
Something like that, yeah.
1 turn.
That's dope. From one character.
From one character.
Do you know what Lightning... Oh! I just had a thought. Oh. Pandemonium Lightning might be really good for 5 and 6 player games. Because 11 fear feels like more than the ratio should be for one character. So when are the ratios really feeling like they're really off against you?
Higher the player
as far
count.
as the fear count goes in this instance. High player count games. When how much fear do we need? 20. Oh, 24. So, if you have someone that goes and does boom 7, boom 11, that's like a really high ratio that for a solo game seems, this is like almost too much. Not that you dislike it, but it's like, I don't even know what to do with this much fear.
And people think like, oh, I'll never reach that. You get to 5 card plays with Lightning. Like that.
And in a 5 to 6 player game, 11 fear doesn't seem like this crazy nuke. All right, well, I'm going to do it once, twice, and game's over. That goes from being crazy to being a useful crutch that saved the game.
Mm-hmm.
That you can do multiple times because the game is big enough that there's all this people that you need that much fear. So it's not going to feel like this crazy, oh, well, it's cool and it's really nice, but usually 4 player games, 3 player games, or even less, you never get that far. So you never have the satisfaction of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think in a high difficulty, high player count game, not only are you going to be able to get to it, I think you may even be able to do it a few times. Maybe twice, maybe 3 times.
I think so.
And in that setting, not only do you get the satisfaction of doing it at least once, but you'll get the satisfaction of doing it multiple times and it being a huge benefit, boon, potentially winning factor to the team. Just a thought. I haven't played with that one yet.
Most of these I've only played with, actually all of them I've only played with once. Wind, Pandemonium, and Immense. So
I've only done Wind. I think Pandemonium will be the one I do next.
Pandemonium is fun. I know we're saying it's not the same as Trickster, but it felt like Trickster and a little bit like we're saying Thunder Speaker. Because 2 Dahan is nothing to sneeze at. Pushing 2 Dahan.
Right.
So I loved Pandemonium.
Right on. So there you go with Lightning's aspect cards. Wind, which transforms the character into a supporting role. Pandemonium, which changes the character into a fear-generating defending role. And then Immense, which changes it into a major power user. How interesting. So now we have 4 different Lightnings at our disposal.
I know. That's cool. What do you want to play next, Laura? Oh, wait. You haven't touched any of these.
I don't play Lightning.
Ooh. This is awkward. Me, because I'm always playing Lightning.
You're always hogging it.
Is there one that appeals to you a little bit more than the rest, perhaps?
I think Pandemonium actually does sound really fun. I really appreciate being on the receiving end of Wind, but if I were to sit down and play, I think it would be kind of cool to play Pandemonium, and maybe a Pandemonium, Lightning, and Thunder Speaker combo.
That could be cool.
Or River with...
You just like your Dahan armies. You really do.
I love the little guys.
Yeah. And
so
Dahan lovers like defense.
Yeah.
We do. I always choose defend over anything, I have decided. But so being able to like just keep spitting innate defense all over the place and be getting fear for it. Because then as Thunder Speaker, you can just shove your little people wherever. We're already defended and they're gonna take it down.
Right.
That sounds like a fun team. Pandemonium. Could we say Panda Lightning?
Panda Lightning,
I think I'm hearing date night.
I want Ryan to come too.
I'll probably be too busy editing all this stuff. So, how did you think about Lightning getting defense out there? I'm guessing that was odd, but really cool. Odd because it's different, I should say. Not odd because it's bad. I'm saying odd because it's different.
So before, like, original Lightning, I would sometimes push Dahan to their doom, basically.
Yeah.
Because I just needed the fear.
Right, because you can only do offense. Harbingers of Lightning. We bring the lightning. Cool. And he just gets
Thanks for your help.
The bad guys were scared for a turn.
And death.
And then they killed you.
Because, the spirit, like you said, starts with no defense. So,
I'll avenge you.
So the strife, it just makes me feel less bad to push them into danger.
Yeah. No, seriously, because not only can you push them there, but now you can protect them.
Because even if they're not ravaging that turn, eventually it's going to come up. So I'm like, oh, why did those... Oh, I pushed them there a couple turns back. Oops.
Right on. It makes Harbingers of Lightning more useful. Wind made Raging Storm more useful. Pandemonium makes makes Harbingers of Lightning more useful.
And because, like we were saying, Lightning is a minor power user, there's so many Dahan manipulation minor powers in that deck, so you can really spit out Strife and just have all these Dahan at your disposal. Even more than just Harbingers of Lightning.
Yeah.
So,
by the way, you can only have one aspect card on a spirit.
Don't tell that to Laura.
I did play Shadow Flicker with all 4 just to see what happened.
It made Shadows
official balanced play. However, if you guys want to have some funsies, go ahead and supercharge your characters with multiple aspects. Would you call it if you want to have some fun.
Frankenstein's monster?
Frankenstein!
Laura had like all these different aspects tied on.
I completely forgot what was going on half the time.
All these, like, this card it's like all these cybernetic augments to a character.
No, it was cool because it changed Shadows from D tier into like B tier.
Yeah.
All of
these steroids, all of these performance enhancing drugs.
Now Shadows is passable.
Right on. Well, there you go. There is Lightning Swift Strike with the aspects. Next episode, we will get into River, Surges, and Sunlight. So until then, we will catch you guys on the next one.
See?
Wow.
Bye. I want to say see y'all, and then see you peeps, and, you know, everything comes at once.
I totally get it. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Kindred Spirit Podcast. We appreciate you taking the time to do so. Feel free to visit us on our Instagram and Facebook page. You can find me on our Facebook page at The Kindred Spirit Podcast. To get a hold of John, check out our Instagram page at TheKSP123. We look forward to hearing from you and seeing you in future episodes.